Fowles knee out, Lenore knee out, Nick Bosa hip oblique out, Trent Williams ankle out, Christian McCaffrey just rest, Brock Purdy right shoulder limited, Pooney shoulder limited, Greenlaw Achilles limited, Givens groin limited.
Other than that, you can't show me a losing season that he's had since I've been here. Why are you saying he in the hot seat?
The San Francisco 49ers are in the midst of one of the worst seasons they've ever had in the Kyle Shanahan era, which is very frustrating considering the finish that they had last year. And it's causing a lot of fans to call for the end of the Kyle Shanahan era. We're gonna break it all down for you guys in this video. I hope you had an incredible Thanksgiving with your families. I'm personally very thankful for you all supporting our content and everyone that's helped me create this content. I'm thankful for you guys getting us really close to 1 million subscribers, for all those that subscribed and helped us get to that goal. And now that we got all of that out of the way, work! We had so much success on Thanksgiving with the Prize Picks free square. If you followed me on Instagram, then you would have seen my pick of Tyreek Hill, Jonnu Smith, and David Montgomery, which hit for a 5x return. Our square of Josh Jacobs and Devon Achane also converted. And my favorite part about this is getting DMs like this. One of my followers made $225 out of my picks on Thanksgiving. And I got many more DMs of you guys hitting with my picks as well. If you haven't signed up for Prize Picks, click on my link in the description or use my promo code microphone to get $50 when you make an entry of $5 or more. We're going to be making picks for the rest of the season for the NBA and NFL, and I give away my picks for free on Instagram and Snapchat. And thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? The San Francisco 49ers are one of the most unique teams in the NFL because they haven't been consistent when it's come to building their roster. The way they found their franchise QB is very unorthodox, but sprinkled between all of these moments were moments of pure genius and moments that were absolutely disastrous. For example, going all the way back to the 2017 offseason. This was the offseason where John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan were officially introduced as the brand new head coach and general manager for the team. They had the number 3 overall pick in the 2017 NFL draft. They flirted with the idea of taking the top quarterback in the entire NFL draft, Mitchell Trubisky. And they flirted with the idea enough to allow the Chicago Bears to trade up to the number 2 pick and also got a couple of 3rd round picks out of it. But with that pick, they decided to select Solomon Thomas over the likes of Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. Now, the 49ers were desperate for a QB, but they knew that their top target was going to become a free agent that offseason, Kirk Cousins. So they were focused on the defensive side of the ball to start the Shanahan-Lynch era. Well, a few months later, they lucked into Jimmy Garoppolo, who was available via a trade, so they pulled the trigger on him instead. And the 49ers wouldn't really improve by much. In the 2018 NFL draft, they decided to protect Jimmy Garoppolo's blind side, selecting Mike McGlinchey with the 9th overall pick in that draft. You can see so far not really off to the greatest start when it comes to drafting until the very next season, where Jimmy Garoppolo would sustain an injury throughout the 2018 season, which would lead the San Francisco 49ers to getting the number 2 overall pick in the draft, where they would select Nick Bosa. Things really started to come together for the 49ers here. And say what you want about their 1st round picks, but the 49ers were excellent at drafting later in the NFL draft. I mean, in the 2017 NFL draft, they did draft Solomon Thomas and Reuben Foster, but that was the same draft that they selected George Kittle in the 5th round. Yeah, they drafted Mike McGlinchey in the 1st round of the 2018 NFL draft, but they selected Fred Warner in the 3rd round. In 2019, they did select Nick Bosa, but they also took Deebo Samuel in the 2nd round and Dre Greenlaw in the 5th round. I mean, this is a team that has just been incredible when it's come to building their roster, but of course, they've had some whiffs in between. They selected Javon Kinlaw in the 1st round of the 2020 NFL draft, but they also selected Brandon Ayuk a few picks later, and they took Jawan Jennings with the 7th round pick in that draft. And most famously, this team went all in for their quarterback of the future in the 2021 NFL draft, trading 2 1st round picks for the ability to swap 1st round picks with the Miami Dolphins to trade up to the 3rd overall pick to draft Trey Lance, who inevitably would only play 5 games for them before they would give up on Trey Lance. But in this exact same draft, they selected Deommodore Lenoir with a 5th round pick. I have a friend that's a nauseating 49ers fan, and he's always made the joke that it would be great if the 49ers would just trade all of their first round picks for fifth round picks because they always hit on their late round picks. And nothing exemplified this more than selecting Brock Purdy, the 7th round pick in 2022. Throughout the Shanahan era, the team was able to make it to the Super Bowl twice and the NFC Championship 4 times, which is something that 49ers fans are just sick of. I mean, if you take a look at the Jim Harbaugh era, they went through the exact same thing. I mean, not as many NFC Championship appearances, but this man made it to the NFC Championship in the 2011, 2012, and 2013 season before things broke down between him and the front office, and then he went back to college, whereas Trent Baalke went to the Jacksonville Jaguars to ruin their team, where he currently has a job till this day. But at this point, 49ers fans are just sick and tired of being that team that consistently makes it to the NFC Championship and loses, or makes it to the Super Bowl and loses. And the worst part is they always come really close to winning the NFC Championships or the Super Bowl, but in the case of their Super Bowl defeats, they just ran into an opponent that's been better than them. And in the case of the last NFC Championship they lost, they just weren't healthy. And this has been the tragedy of the Kyle Shanahan era. The teams constructed around Shanahan have been remarkable. Has it been a completely perfect rebuild? Absolutely not. Trading for Trey Lance was a horrific mistake. But if you just take a step back and just look at the 49ers hits, I mean, George Kittle, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Deebo Samuel, Nick Bosa, Diamador Lenore, Talanoa Hufanga, Brock Purdy. You couldn't ask for a better ability to acquire talent. But on top of that, they also made intelligent trades throughout the years as well, trading for Christian McCaffrey and putting him in the perfect offensive scheme for Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers offense. Having Deebo Samuel there as well to just further confuse defenses. You know how difficult it is to defend Christian McCaffrey whenever Deebo Samuel is motioning? What if it's a Deebo Samuel jet sweep? What if it's a Deebo Samuel fake handoff, zone read? What if it's a Christian McCaffrey fake handoff, play action? I mean, there's so many different ways that the 49ers could get you. Their offense is perfect and their defense has always been incredible when they're fully healthy. That's the problem though. They haven't been fully healthy and they've ran into some issues lately. Throughout the offseason, we've covered ad nauseum. Probably one of my least favorite storylines of all time, if I'm being honest. But we discussed Brandon Ayuk's demand for a contract extension. Now, this came just a few seasons after Deebo Samuel wanted a contract extension. And believe me, Brandon Ayuk made a big deal about this. Immediately after their Super Bowl loss to the Chiefs, this is what Ayuk said.
Brandon, what are you going to remember most about this particular roster this past season?
Just guys that came in to work to be champions every single day.
Months and months would pass, Ayuk would hold out, but eventually Ayuk would get signed to a contract extension. A very fair one, might I add. And in the 49ers case, they really had no choice but to give him that contract extension, considering the fact that Ayuk is one of the best run-blocking wide receivers in the NFL. But once again, the 49ers would just have such terrible luck. I mean, the Niners would go into the season with injuries to Christian McCaffrey, and then Brandon Ayuk would tear his ACL in October. And this is on top of the fact that Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, and Brock Purdy are currently dealing with injuries. And for some reason, Deebo Samuel is washed. I don't know how this happened, considering the fact that Deebo Samuel is a prime cut candidate in the offseason. Due to his cap hit, his cap number in 2024 is $12.23 million, which is down from $28.63 million. And the 49ers could create about $5 million in salary cap space if Deebo Samuel is a post-June 1st cut this year. And if you just take a look at his footage so far, it's not the craziest suggestion. Against the Green Bay Packers, Deebo Samuel has been terrible with 2 crucial drops, one of which resulting in a huge interception. But on top of that, since the bye week, Deebo Samuel has had 10 receptions for 0 TDs, 3 drops, 13 rushing yards, 105 receiving yards, and at the same time has the audacity to snap at his kicker. And 49ers fans are just really frustrated. I mean, the season hasn't hasn't gone the way they were hoping it would go. Following a Super Bowl appearance and coming really close to winning the Super Bowl potentially, fans picked the 49ers as their favorites to win the NFC once again.
Me personally, I felt like we have one of the greatest football teams to ever be assembled. Personally, that's how I feel. I see it every day. We know what we have to do. We know what it looks like. There's only one thing left to do, so it's really just focusing on that.
I honestly love the fact that they have player podcasts now, because that just aged remarkably. This was before Brandon Ayuk's injury, by the way. Now, of course, when you take a look at their record, it's not like they're completely out of the playoff hunt, but it just hasn't looked good for the 49ers so far. They've lost really winnable games as well. In week 3, they lost to the LA Rams. In week 5, they lost to the Arizona Cardinals by a point. In a Super Bowl rematch to the Chiefs, they lost by 10 points. They nearly lost to the Dallas Cowboys, which should have been an incredibly winnable game, before losing to the Seattle Seahawks and losing big to the Green Bay Packers. All of this has led to fans asking one huge question that personally really pisses me off, and that's, should the San Francisco 49ers fire Kyle Shanahan?
I'm seeing a lot of Shanahan slander now. Slow down.
There's no good head coaches, dude. Like, Niners fans do this every year. I don't think you know how good you have it with Shanahan.
I guess that's a good point, because if your team doesn't win, we need to blame somebody. And the head coach is, we would assume, in charge of strategy and over there, play call. You know, it's a lot over there with Shanahan on board. So if they don't win, I guess it does fall at his feet.
It's not only me asking this, by the way. It's legit diehard 49ers fans. This idiot thinks that if the 49ers miss the playoffs, they should fire Kyle Shanahan, period. Another diehard 49ers fan thinks that Kyle Shanahan should be on the hot seat. We can do better than him. Let's fire him and let him go somewhere else. Maybe to the Bears or something. I don't know. Deebo Samuel had this to say about Kyle Shanahan.
There's a lot of people that feel like Kyle Shanahan is in the hot seat right now. Do you agree with that?
I don't think so. Kind of since I've been here, I don't think we had nothing but one losing season, and I think that was COVID. And you know, you can sit back and you can harp on everybody being injured. Other than that, you can't show me a losing season that he's had since I've been here. Why are you saying he in the hot seat? At the end of the day, like, Kyle is one of the smartest. You know, you like those player coaches that, you know, people could ask for. At the end of the day, like, you can't show me a season where, you know, he had a losing season as well since I've been in the league. And I just look at it from, you know, me going in the building every day. If he can start it all over again, this is where he'll want to be.
It really frustrates me as a Dallas Cowboy fan, because as a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, when we've had the perfect coach to lead us, we were able to win multiple Super Bowls. And ever since then, it's been a story of either us being really, really terrible or having a very talented roster with terrible coaching. And it seems like that's been our problem since I've been able to actually understand football, which is about 2000 to 2001. Every single time that we've had an opportunity to be competitive, a coach literally takes us out of the game. Look, man, I know Kyle Shanahan hasn't delivered the results that you guys wanted this year, but at least he's not running fake punts from his own 30 in the first quarter. Yes, Mike McCarthy actually did this on national television. He didn't do this on a Sunday morning where you may have been distracted watching 7 hours of commercial-free football. No, he did this while all eyes were on the Dallas Cowboys. It's like he came out and said,
Look, guys, look at how fucking stupid I am. I'm running a fake punt from our own 30 in the first quarter.
People would say it's because of analytics, but no analytics suggest that this is a good play. I mean, look at how surprised Mike McCarthy sounded when Jerry Jones said that he might get a contract extension.
This morning, Jerry Jones said it wouldn't be crazy for you to get a contract extension.
Why are you laughing?
I'll be getting
Crazy, I mean.
I just want you to understand what we're dealing with as Cowboy fans, 49ers fans. We're in the midst of one of our worst seasons to date. We have a whole video on all of the terrible decisions that Mike McCarthy makes as a head coach. And our team owner came out in the midst of one of our worst seasons to date and said this.
This season, we could be talking about an extension for Mike McCarthy?
I don't think that's crazy at all. That's not crazy. Listen, Mike McCarthy is an outstanding coach. Mike McCarthy has been there, done that. He's got great ideas. So bottom line is that there's no place in my body language or anything else saying indications about what we're going to be doing relative to this staff at the end of this year.
And I know there's going to be people watching this content saying, oh, he's just
just a Dallas Cowboy fan. What does Mike know about football?
49ers fans, I want you to get a reality check here. This is what some fans deal with. You think Kyle Shanahan is holding you guys back? I would do ungodly things for Kyle Shanahan as my head coach. Is he perfect? No, not necessarily, but whenever you've given him a talented roster, he at the very minimum takes you where you're supposed to go. And it's kind of crazy thinking that there's an upgrade out there. Who's the upgrade gonna be? Bill Belichick? Ben Johnson? You think Ben Johnson is gonna come and fix everything? I mean, take a look at this. The start of Kyle Shanahan's career is incredibly similar to the best coach in the NFL right now. In the early 2000s, Andy Reid was in a very similar situation to Kyle Shanahan. He made it to 4 NFC championships in his first 6 years as the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. People made fun of him for poor clock management. He lost his first NFC championship to the Rams, and he lost a Super Bowl by 3 points and gave Brady and Belichick his 3rd Super Bowl. Shanahan pretty much has a similar track record. He made it to the NFC championship 4 times in his first 6 years. He also gets made fun of for poor clock management. He also lost his first NFC championship to the Rams, and he lost a Super Bowl by 3 points that gave Mahomes and Andy Reid a 3rd Super Bowl. What changed everything for Andy Reid? Well, after the Philadelphia Eagles built a dream team for him, which by the way, we have a separate video on this. The Philadelphia Eagles built a dream team for him that didn't work out for him at all whatsoever, where he tried to use Nnamdi Asomugha as a zone cornerback, which just didn't work. The Eagles went 4-12. They point the blame finger at Andy Reid, and they thought Chip Kelly would be an upgrade. Andy Reid would go to the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's been there ever since. Completely changed his legacy by making this decision. And all Andy Reid really needed was a once-in-a-generation type QB to get it done. I don't think this is something you need to overthink. Your team has been battered and bruised all season long, and now Brock Purdy is in jeopardy of playing this week.
Fowles knee out, Lenore knee out, Nick Bosa hip oblique out, Trent Williams ankle out, Christian McCaffrey just rest, Brock Purdy right shoulder limited, Pooney shoulder limited, Greenlaw Achilles limited, Givens groin limited.
You know what's really funny to me? We went from Brock Purdy potentially being carried by the entire San Francisco 49ers supporting cast to Brock Purdy being the X factor for the 49ers winning and losing. And I think this is the ultimate argument for him getting paid maximum money this offseason. And there's no better evidence that Brock Purdy is not a system QB than the percentage of pass yards that come after receiving. And take a look at this chart. Brock Purdy only has 37.7% of his passing yardage coming after the catch, which is the fewest in the entire NFL. So the narrative surrounding Brock Purdy being carried by his teammates has evaporated. But at the same time, the 49ers aren't winning. But the fact that they're in the situation that they're in currently is incredibly impressive. This team is without Brandon Ayuk, Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, and Brock Purdy, lost Christian McCaffrey for the first half of the season, made a star out of Jordan Mason, and still can potentially make it into the playoffs if they win out for the rest of the season. But they do have a very challenging schedule up ahead. They face off against the Buffalo Bills in essentially another ice bowl, and they face off against the Chicago Bears that have been on fire offensively since Shane Waldron has been fired. Then they go up against the LA Rams 4 days later before finishing the season against the Dolphins, the Lions, and the Cardinals. All of these are huge games, and it doesn't seem like they're going to get a huge break either. They just gotta hope that they can stay healthy in time to make this run. I'll say this, no matter what you think, no matter what anyone says, firing Kyle Shanahan isn't the answer. Maybe bringing back Robert Saleh as your defensive coordinator is. But if you're a 49ers fan, I want to get your take on this. Should the San Francisco 49ers fire Kyle Shanahan and bring in Bill Belichick? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.